Good morning, everybody.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's Sanje Cheda Soje Sona Lo Jojo Bodo Ne Joso Daje Chujen Jebe Sona Je Dola Benja Sanje Sanje Cheda Soje Janjo Bodo Dane Joso Jan Daje Chujen Jebe Sona Dola Benja Sanje Doba Sanje Cheda Soje Janjo Bodo Dane Daje Chujen Jebe Sona Je Dola Benja Sanje Doba Sho Dayan Dayan Gade Gade Baran Gade Barasom Gade Bodhi Dayan Dayan Gade Gade Baran Gade Barasom Bodhi Swaha Dayan Dayan Gade Barasom Gade Bodhi Swaha Ola so Simja Tamjega to the Topzalana Majeva Sanje Kumar and Boja Chineja Tobarcha第七段呢，讲就是没老讲了，最小的拿出来让我来信过，信不了推荐书嘛，那我就搞的，那告诉爸爸的，他讲开始就不喜欢那个什么，就会等这些这边经营什么去。
So we begin by setting our motivation to do whatever we possibly can to attain the purest state of enlightenment in order to best be able to benefit sentient beings. And we know that to attain that state, we must perfect all the trainings on the Bodhisattva path. To perfect those trainings in turn, we need to have a knowledge of them. And we gain this knowledge by being able to rely upon a non-mistaken source or a non-mistaken text. And so it is with this in mind that we are here to hear a little from the text known as the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, as composed by the great master Shantideva.
Well, so Namjin is Chechen, Kosore. Yeah, doing a job you said of it, what the Chen, what come to be what Namjin is Chet, and Ranga Tunda, Dunke Nakala, and war and get Lama Yimbala, Naba, Lama Tubia Ombo, and Chikala, a Shaji Chen, Kula Chu Mudu, Shaji Chan, Yams, yes, and Yamshaka to Zekama Naba.
So we begin as usual also by visualizing in the space in front of us the figure of the great Shakyamuni Buddha, who in essence is our own root guru in the aspect of Shakyamuni Buddha, who has one face, two hands, is sitting in the Vajra posture with the right hand touching the earth in the earth touching mudra, and the left hand in the meditative equipoise mudra, holding an alms bowl filled with nectar. And we have the certainty that the Buddha is actually there in that space in front of us.
Leg of the Rangi Detone Kibu make a dear Rangton Kibu making and one of the Tamil Jas lay. These Sube and Kajo Market Simja Tom Masawa Meba you, something in a Kumbacha.
And all around us, we visualize all kind mother sentient beings, from our parents to our relatives to our friends, you know, those for whom with due to karmic connection, we have a feeling of friendliness towards, and then the others that we have a neutral feeling towards, and those who we have an unhappy kind of relationship with due to karma, who we would in normal terms label as the enemy, that they are all there, and all sentient beings without exception are included in that group around us.
Rangi Duna and Dungan Nangala and said Lama Tuga Omode and Chibo Omkaba, Temba Arma, Tuga Hong of the Jigasum set up, and Tuga Honle, we said part of Meva to the Shingran and Ishiba, only the Chama Chanta, Ishiba Tigate, and Lama Tuga Ombe, number Chant and a Tim. Ranga said Lama Tuga Omukutila party, and because only Omochula Machada Migivo, which what in Chikomasha.
And then focusing again on the figure in front, we see that Shakyamuni Buddha is marked at the crown with an Om, at the throat with an A, and at the heart center with an Hum syllable. And light rays emanate from that Hum syllable, going out into the pure realms, inviting back the wisdom beings and the empowering deities. The wisdom beings dissolve into the central figure, and the empowering deities confer the nectar of empowerment, some of which overflows at the crown, producing spontaneously the figure of Akshobhya.
Dondo and but when I hold a shoe yourself, Russia Simja Tamjak, Tosa Tip Jamachido, who was hold a shoe yourself, what in a Kumbasha, and Ranga Tower the Mas, the Magasimja, the Datam Jaja, reduce so don't and Nashima kind number mination, and Namjo you can check. And Lama to be on Kusun to you did the Jenshin and Della Tana to Yichito, who don't develop so Ranjika, Kivaneshe, and 타이버 막았으면 이제 탐자 뒤나시 짓기 아니 배 동지들이 이게 되고 공부하셔.
And we are reminding ourselves that the figure that we are seeing in this space in front, the figure of Shakyamuni Buddha, is the embodiment of all Buddhas and has the same similar qualities of all Buddhas, who having purified all negativities and obscuration and have completely fulfilled all good qualities to their perfection. And so we have this sense of the kind of completely qualified enlightenment of the figure in front. And likewise, all the kind mother sentient beings all around, they're abiding in all the 6 realms of existence, but they're able to cognize not only their own suffering, but the situation they're in right now with the intelligence of a human being. And therefore, they are kind of looking towards the figure of the Buddha also, with recalling these good qualities of body, speech, and mind, just like us, and developing thereafter, subsequently, this faith, this triple faith of pure faith, faith of conviction, and the aspirational faith, manifest faith. And that we have this kind of renewed kind of determination to really emulate the qualities of that enlightened being in order to be able to benefit all sentient beings ourselves.
What the legend and it didn't Takajaji because of the Ranga Tower, your Makassimja, the Datamja, Randa Kokuna, they were to Mituba to Meride, and we chick a chick to the young ticket. Kasan Lema Cheva Misawa Insa, and Dunga Jutumata Dunga Yon Degua, that Dunga Jula Mongne, Dunga Jutu, they were Jula Mongne, they were Jutu Mashimacha. And today I won't get Takajaji. 다 과통화 매번 다다보도 거다다 에베 무투네다 동네 중 어쩌네 디마바 대외 중 어쩌네 디투마도나 다 무투네 다 과대 임바자 딜미스베게 닝지께네 안데 동네 주대 접을 전에 지모 저와 주제 저와 쇼지 안 저와 다게 지금 어디를 삼았다 아니 대대 전에바데 안 되나스 라게 세데베 라마 투베 오베 징글라 고소도게 징글라 도스
And we, in focusing on the suffering really of the sentient beings all around us, we can see that they are bereft of the happiness that they so want, and they are inundated with the suffering that they do not want, kind of one suffering leading on to another, one after the other like that. And it's really due to the fact that they are ignorant as to the causes of happiness on the one hand. Therefore, they don't focus on that and set out to actually accumulate the causes of happiness. And they are ignorant as to the causes of suffering on the other hand, and therefore they can't set out to abandon the causes that lead to suffering. And so they're kind of in this situation of ignorance, where they're continuously revolving in cyclic existence without any hope of liberation from it. And that And we, in understanding that, feel their desperation, and also understand that this sense of being unable to bear that they are in that situation. And we make the supplication how wonderful it would be if we could free sentient beings from suffering and the causes of their suffering. How, may that be the case. I will see that it is the case. And then you focusing on the Buddha in front of Guru Buddha, please bless me to be able to make this so.
What did the compassion? And it didn't compassion, and it did because of the Rangatuna said the Lama to be over, and because of the Takaja Kusontula. To say a part of me about 10 around the one Chibon should and told me what Chibon Kabatuya and it didn't take where you can naturally Tovala Padu Tibet about done, but thought when you were Kabata Johnson, what did the commercial to what did
And as a result of our supplication, we see the response within the Buddha marked in those three places with the nectar light beginning to descend from that heart center and into ourselves and all sentient beings all around us, and dissolving really all of the untoward conditions that they have, this ignorance of not being able to see the actuality of things clearly, and that we feel that this has great potential to kind of set them right and set ourselves right as well.
And Kevatuya, and it took Junju that the Sura the 10 David, Sanjay Sunda, Taganshi Teva, Junju that is in a Sunday, and it moving nature, Lamdena Etila, and by never things over Nina. And Jiggy to be shut up, some jungle shut up, come jungle shut up. Did they get to Egla, but the Julia Tiba Patane. But you do any Dedala and so on. Unahora and the Tosan goes a Yamata Chatwig, never Kawacha Jones, Sentient Tamja, get a Jones of what the commercial Yabua.
And so we kind of really make this kind of powerful supplication, but also in relation to this very moment of our about to hear some verses from the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, that which is a text which is a commentary basically on the word of the Buddha, and that we pray that we will see the true portent of what is being said in these verses, to get the actuality of the situation, such that it is really heartfelt from our side, so that it can be kind of really put into action, kind of integrated into all our behavior, that we gain the wisdom arising from learning, the wisdom arising from contemplation, and the wisdom arising from meditation. And that as a result of listening to the kind of content of the Bodhisattva's way of life, that we can purify all our negativities and accumulate the necessary merit, and that we are able to engage in the processes of learning, of contemplation, and of meditation in a non-mistaken and perfect way.
Tosan goes to Jubala and Jundukin. Because Kavala draws, draw it on a Tubes shall get to it. Draw a corner, some shall get to some Jewish, draw a corner, Gombe shall get because Junduki, Nevada Tempetone. Jundus the Kavala draws, draw a Samacho, and the Kanga Yomarwa, Kalechon Kai Yomarwa. What had the diggy? What are Yoyaki and Casoda? Get a Pachakari man, Deba the Tibakan Bachan, what about the digger get to you? What the commercial today? Yourself, what is
and that we can listen and integrate the content here, more particularly in a kind of very joyful and inspirational, enthusiastic a way, as it was part and parcel of the perfection of a joyous effort, of the definition of which is that which delights in virtue. And so it would be very good if we have that too, in sense that we enter into the learning, the contemplation, the meditation with a sense of a joy that is inspirational to push us on beyond any perceivable obstacles and so on.
가서 학생께네 어느 동네를 미스베 니지게 텔레텔 학생께 안 학생께는 안도 nye 대화 지금에서 다 소소 제마도서 안테 니바서 오나스 라마 투베 엄불도 다 라마 코베 엄불 고마마도 톱면도 소한테 되게 아니 저 가서도 지스베 토네 원 세체 호텔셔.
And so that in reflecting on the qualities of the figure, the Buddha in front of us, we develop a strong sense of faith. In reflecting or focusing on the suffering of all sentient beings all around us, we generate a sense of compassion, and that we understand this compassion as being central to really central cause for the generation of the special intent, that sort of singular determination to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. And as such, then it is a direct cause for the mind of enlightenment itself, and to kind of really reaffirm that the urgency of that in our own minds, that we must, I must attain that state of enlightenment really, to really benefit all sentient beings in the way that I want and in the way that they need. Chokran gyatang somju sopsong sopsom and wogi chikti gena somba ton chegi sulsim
da suba semje dönje ge chutim so ta chutim sumba nane roda semje dönje ge chutim la sumja ro 예주도 배추주 개와 추도 배추주 심제 된제도 추점스다 추점 숨고나네 우리 다가자자 심제 된제도 추점다 라발라 숨자 셴들 훌랑바 라니바 마고 바라 셴두에 쳬바 라제 라게체 로 심제 숨자 안에 심제 제 심제소 송신 예배 미고베 쳬바라 라바고 섭제 숨고나체 어쩌죠.
So we have arrived at that part in the text on the chapter on mindfulness, where it says a third, the training in the ethical conduct of working for the benefit of sentient beings, and this is of course one of the different categories of ethical conduct in the context of the perfection of ethical conduct, the ethical conduct of abiding in the vows, the ethical conduct of accumulating all dharmas, and the ethical conduct of working for the benefit of sentient beings. Oh yes, to kind of on the one hand the ethical conduct of avoiding all incorrect behaviors of body, speech, and mind, and then the working to accumulate all virtues, and then working for the benefit of sentient beings. And so these three, from just related to that third category of the ethical conduct, training in the ethical conduct of working for the benefit of sentient beings, has three subheadings. The first is in the kind of this kind of automatic or spontaneous working for sentient beings. The second is the behaviors of gathering others, in a sense of being able to kind of influence others, but in a way that our own behavior isn't tainted by fault. And the third one is again the protecting the minds of others, again through training in our own behavior being in any way, in no way tainted by fault. So again, this first one of working kind of spontaneously for others means in all situations, for all sentient beings, we have this kind of an automatic, spontaneous, naturally arising kind of wish to be of benefit. Verse number 84 states, when this is well understood, I should always strive for the welfare of others. The far-seeing, merciful ones have allowed a bodhisattva to do some actions that for others were forbidden.
ran chenzen ki tima mebe tone ane rikpa chene ane shendyo la tatu tsomba nekogur res tatu ane pechun chegur res nebar chala tatu nebar chegur yodo ane shendyo teko na tsoba joba yinsa shendyo la na tsoba rukwa yindo ane o tatu shendyo tamchada ruk tuweja rimendo te juba yina pena chachawa yina pena rangi pena Parwa pena nyeju dobe chudim nalone ya Geshe pa shendu chugo de nyeju dobe chudim sungo yotu ante jumaru batende jumhatu batende yongudu samsa cheba ina miru so nyamna tende strengo tona ta ngune dana rando yije ge mago baja rangi kasa rang chense ge mago ba thone ta shendu chugo shina ane tila ta kacha je kasore ane chig pena chikasa pena 년도 택배 값소 각자 임바 이나야 어다디 맞춰 봤잖아 가샤바 임바 이나야 자주 선발 나와요 봐 요랬어 나와요 봤는데 연구 요랬어 또 투베 나와서 산제게 링베 산제게에서 링베 고주게 되는 무슨 게 생긴 링베서 장 링부게 안에베 먼저 탐해와 또 마도 왔잖아 장 링부게 내수 된자 바 지가서데 고주게 내수 된자 고주게 내수 된자 펴봐 지다 와신데 kengu yoba 인상 아니 릉하게 듬보 라다 르고 거네 소저바 마젬발람바 미사와저바 나가 조용참아 측송 나제 되게데 지당아도 레당보 왔다 아니 지금 란전제다 되는 임반 오다 가자 제거해래 디고 바시래 이내 란도 이제게 꽤 막고 그게 시 바시게 된다 주건 제바 이나 야 갑래 야 디게디야 현도 주베 양라도 줘봐 요래 현도 주베 통계도 줘야 된다 여기서 딜라 나와 요래스 듬보 년도에서 랑도做这个年度个아니 람라랍게 아니这个甚至탐제게 더 주에게 쿠르마这个 라니 찍고 시도 되네 그 냠래 지금 들어서 가샤요 돼 가봐 남장 갑서 배배 장주 선배 냠래 지금 란전생게 아니 디마마고게 되라 란전생게 아니 생활도 마주거든 장주 선배달라 아니 야 나와 요바들 요구 요랬어 지다 랑게 돈에 나 랑은 랑전생의 대화토네 다 가서 바시래 얘네 랑전생의 dim에 마고 바토네 야 시스템적인 돈을 심적인 돈을 타야봐 줘봐 인자 야 심적인 돈을 차게도 줘봤는데 요바 인자 안 되돌아야 나와 요바는데 요랬어 나 오셔봐 오세 다 이나야 다나 이게 숨데 낙셈 묘셈 록다 어다 디게데 현재 주변 양라조 자원인의 요말에 다 디게데 강가 가서다 디게데가 답배 가서다 같이 제 현재 주변 통계도 좋아 요말에서 이나 릉하게 되는데 랑데 이제게 견도 주변 마고 이나 현재 주변 양라도 좋아 연구 요래 데레 요바 인사 데레게 자주 선배가 냠내 지금 சொல்ல 야 갑에 현대 주변 양라도 나와 요랬어 데레 인바자 현대 좀 하도 강에 요 말에 숨고 열받아
So this verse deals with then the image of a bodhisattva, as explained above, one who is fully aware of what needs to be abandoned and what needs to be practiced. And that in this context, they then put all their efforts into working for the benefit of others. So here, it may be the case that, you know, in the context of working for the benefit of others, might feel that there's so much that needs to be done. There's so many activities that one needs to engage in that might say this is kind of not possible to do all of that. But here it's saying that the Buddhas, those who are greatly compassionate and those who are far-seeing, they have seen, you know, the hidden meaning of actions. They're able to actually see the consequences of particular actions and to know what is, beneficial and not. And in this context, they're saying that, you know, in spite of the fact that the 7 non-virtues of related to physical actions and verbal actions are you're not permitted to engage in those actions from the point of view of an individual liberation vehicle practitioner, Shravaka practitioner, and that's because that's the kind of main part of their ethical conduct is to refrain from all actions like this. But in terms of a bodhisattva, and depending on the circumstances, these 7 are permitted for a bodhisattva. The key component of when these are permitted is that there can be absolutely no trace of any self-cherishing involved in the actions of a bodhisattva. There can be no trace of any kind of working for their own self, the working for their own benefit in these actions, and that these, although proscribed for the practitioners of the individual liberation vehicle, here in certain circumstances, and again saying in these kind of like particular sense of there being absolutely no trace of self-cherishing involved, the bodhisattva is permitted to engage in these so-called non-virtues of body and of speech, and that they are very clear on the actions that they are doing. They're very clear that there is no self-cherishing involved. They're very clear that the action will be of very great benefit to others. And so these then are not seen as false in that regard, but as kind of assisting qualities in being able to complete particular beneficial actions. And of course, at no time are the non-virtues of mind permitted to play any part in these kind of actions. Therefore, there can be no trace of covetousness, malicious intent, or wrong view in any actions of a potential bodhisattva. So whereas the 1 to 7 can have particular situations where they can be useful, the 3 of the mind are never allowed to be part of any motivation or any action.
이게 편바 주에 지금 지난 년도에 되게 쉬운데 라니 찍고 시도 되니기 냠내 지금 속에 어다 각자 이바 이나 양 이제 룽아고 된데 갑래 타이와 막은 심지 탐제가 된주네 란전절 견대네 란전절 야와도 현전제 제발 송근 증원에 양 갑래 현대 집에 줘도 좋아요. 저도 좋아요. 이거 되게 남리 10배 톤에 다 딜레 제베 걸라 란치즈 디메 마고스 거보다 란치즈 디메 고사나 다가랑 메바 차사래 다가랑 마초 건지 ene 제조야 예바 연구 열봐 란치즈 디메 마고 받지 거기 열에 거기 열다 되게 배 가서 다 되게 레라고 말해 나브리 참으네 못쳐 가지 맞잖아 삼류그 수직내 란치즈 레대도나 아니 저요 말이야 삼류 순에 란chen 싸워니네 매바체네 제는 거다디 뭐도 미다당의 돈에 제시 잡도지 레모도 랑이 용하게 돈에 랑이 용하던 란치들 제도 전부도 못 쳐고고도 그 못쳐 마도 봐이나 란치들 제 사수나 아니 예바 주사리 다 디게디 거기 삼류 그 가서래 지금 식배주 당당 말에 다 삼루가 심 딩네 아 랑제주의 제 유미게 랑게 뇨하게 못쳐봤잖아 제 매바 임바 이나 아니 셴드제를 팬 토고도나 딱 갑리를 나와 요레스 다 디가디야 점점 먼저 쳐 칼을 배주당 소소 랑제这个 돈다 주에 막 무용고 열봐 다 디가 디나시 많이 받잖아 저 앞에는 들어가서 첩시바 망보고 되는 연구도 쳐 칼을게 배주다라는 첩시가 왜 쇼라야 다 뭐 배주당 것도 소소 돈다 주베기 왔다 된데 계좌 매받잖아 소소 냠내 칼을 팔잖아 다들 문에 전에 팽기도 뭐도 랑제들 저와도 뭐도 그런 랑이 바 문에 쌤 등에 냠내 지금 제가 딱 못쳐도 그 되면은 양갑에 소소 냠내 인도도 전에 아 처마이 발라 배주 랑제들이 락샤를 또 내가 열어 뒤집어는 처마이 바 차살 다 디가디야 가서래 다 지금 오늘 전에 지금 장부 장샤게 토네 뺐어 지금 미하거나 마거나 랑이거나 오늘 전에 기타 왔다디 오늘 전에 디 랑젠제가 저와 싸우는 민도 상자게 지금 랑젠제가 저와 조에 다가랑 못쳐봐 랑 존도 못쳐봐잖아 다가랑 잠재도 가지고 오요라 어디를 다디 그 레라버처럼도 와 레라버처럼도 와그 제대나 그 내가 도와서 와 셴드 임베서 란친제 제대로서 되잖아 조금도 와 란친제 싸우는 매저게 지금 다디 뒤에 장조 선바도 내는 토볼내면도 가보 인조 레당보랑이 그래서 지금도나 레당보스나 다 가자 지금 또 내 토볼내면도 가보 인그래 그 제주에 내가 또 와 야는 장조 선 생이 상황시키고네 민다와지는 미신 나라도 소라 레당보다 가보 싫어래 또 삽삽 맞아 그거 되게 매워 와 당도 센서부 되기도 다 되기라서 되네 매 받잖아
So it's really kind of emphasized here that the actions of body and of speech can be used. The kind of those kind of labeled non-virtues can be used if the situation is correct and if one's own motivation and attitude is really, really pure. If there is any trace of just working for one's own purpose involved, then it's a completely poisoned action that one has to take into account the massive motivation of working for all sentient beings, and the massive goal of really wanting to be of true benefit to all sentient beings. One is completely aware of that. One is completely aware that should there be any trace of self-cherishing, that one must put a stop to any kind of action like this immediately. And that, of course, this then requires tremendous subtle analysis of one's own mind, one's own intent. And that this is something that's not easy. And here, to be able to even explain it to ourselves in words is kind of beyond us, but we must know through our own experience that when we look within and see, is there absolute purity in my intent, or is there some sort of connection with my own purpose, self-cherishing? Have I got some other ulterior motive here? And so that's only something that we can tell through our own experience. But it's extremely important to recognize just how honest we are about our intention, and to be kind of brutal in regard to when we look into ourselves with that kind of analysis, that if we see any sort of connection at all with our own, something that we want for ourselves, we want to manipulate some sort of situation in some way, in some tiny way, that therefore is a tainted action, and it must be abandoned, and you must not go through with it. And so kind of like it holds a very high bar for being able to engage in this kind of action, and perhaps is kind of way too difficult for even beginners like us, because it may be something that's quite difficult for even high-level practitioners. And so, and that at least we can avoid, being like politicians in our actions, where there's very little relationship between what is said and what is actually happening. And so this is something that we can at least work towards, that we don't want to be in a situation of even believing that we're engaging in virtue ourselves, but it's really only our own self-cherishing holding our hand all the way along. And so it's kind of like very easy to self-deceive here. So our honesty has to be brutal and absolute in being able to do this. And again, to kind of put a stop to any actions where you're not absolutely 100% certain that you are completely free of self-cherishing. And so it's kind of like, for us, it's kind of hard to engage in actions, if we're really honest, where there's not some sort of a mix of motivation between working for others and getting something out of it for ourselves as well. And so this has to be recognized.
소소 대과치몰 묘보이베 가 대과치몰에 아당아 되그래서 진노리요 마당 가서 맞아 다다 콩데 대과치몰 콩 인도데 소소 묘보 여자가 대과치몰 인라고 여러봐 이네 랑게 생게 딩들라 아니 랑 전세 거제스도 됐다고로다 됐다고라 되는 뭐스토 그러면도야 we are Maya now okay 이게 되죠 맞다
And so I think you can very much get the meaning there, that it's not just a matter of posing as Mahayana, that we have we're on the Mahayana path, and therefore all of this kind of engaging in these 7 non-virtues is fine. Is fine for us because we've taken on the label Mahayana. That's something that must be avoided at all costs, and you're only kind of really fooling yourself in that situation. So here we really have to look into to the extent to which we are totally dedicated solely to benefiting others. We have looked extensively and very deeply, profoundly into the whole notion of self-cherishing, the notion of cherishing others, and we've chosen the latter over the former, and very decisively so. And so, it's not just a matter of saying, oh yeah, I'm attending these kind of teachings, I'm a Mahayana practitioner, therefore, everything is allowed for me. That's the worst of all kind of conclusions to come to.
Sentient 상황 ranjula kene kabre ya semjege de tube kabla ane lungage joba dunge tone ya jinyam kaso de di ane kaso de da kanja jege kaso de chujimda yang gege nyanggaji 계획이 내가 저도 저도 왔다 간자 수준디 아니 가서래 지다 가서래 랑댕 토네 랑게 땡거 토네 제바이나 왔다 수준디 계획이 왔다 다 현대 바시가 토네 랑댕 그 dim에 랑 젠제 그 dim에 막어 봐네 봐 자주 그선 천에 상황게 되게 저게 아니 현대 바시가 된도 야데 최대에 튕겨를 줘요 구급이 있는데 아니 구급 때 렌토가 제 나와 요래 쓰고 요와 나와 요래 쓰고 요래면 또 야 저게 nga theba chimbo ye oda de lunga de dona chingma de ma ti ge chimbo re lunga ge yi ge sum jana 가서 미게 주본 거 추정서 시부지 개 chimbo re yina ya kabre janju ge sing nyamne chini 상화 지글 kabre lunga ge de ran chi go shi de ne la ga je chimbo de ya 심제 탐제게도 산제 공부 등을 야 최대의 튕겨도 좋아 영화 예대 아니 대 튕겨도 배주 당 심바이나 아니 들 나와 요래 숨고 요와 들 나와 요래스 다 랑이게 랑진적이 제마 고사원 어디 나와 요말서 나와 요말을 가르쳐 마시래스
So again, one must be, really on the keen lookout for falling into negativity in any of these situations here, and that it's only in a situation where one's motivation is solely and fully focused on the benefit to others. It's a kind of a fully qualified mind of enlightenment we're talking about here, and that in those situations. These 7 negativities of speech and of body are permitted if there is absolutely no trace of self-cherishing involved, that we're very, very clear. And so it's kind of like there's no working for one's own purpose. There is 100% focus and clarity with regard to the purpose of others, working solely for those. And so in those kind of rare situations and again it's like one of these times when one with that purity of motivation is able to see the opportunity where there's great benefit that can accrue for others. And so therefore these 7 actions become conducive conditions to engaging in spiritual practice. And so the motivation to benefit all sentient beings, to attain enlightenment to benefit of all sentient beings, is in no way compromised. And so in those rare situations, then it is possible. However, if one is compromised, one sees a sense of self-cherishing or in some sense working for one's own purpose, one must put a stop to those actions. And one must reconsider the importance of the ethical conduct of refraining from the 10 non-virtues. This is never loses its importance. And so this is something that has to be a part and parcel of these actions.
아니 지금 가서는 아니 지금 두지 나로라 아니 배 총방압자자 지금 아니 두 나로라 총바디가 그 자주 써봐 짠짠이 되게 아니 근데 두지 나로 패줘도 아니 두 나로 패줘도 아니 되나 미나 동동 제스가 지금 아니 미치게 아니 콜라스 지금 삼로 냥바지 깨는 오다 디 두디 나로 이제 총바디가 그가 봐 세워이나 근데 노버디가 찾아가라 그랬어 아니 꿀롱 캐잖아. 안 근데 꿀롱 캐네. 아니 배 세게 둘러봐도 근데 상계 좀 되다 규칙도 기회 자주 써봐디 아니 캐네. 현세시에 무시 돈에 캐네. 아니 대세 이봐 타줘. 삼로 땅와서 말아. 답 세게 튕겨 상 개개 차서 좀 되게 갑라. 아니 상계 좀 되다 규칙도 기회 자주 써봐디 오다 미들에 니지 캐네. 다 미디게 되게 세봐이나 아니 디가 자주 선바한테 지다 수세바는 디가 좀 빠도 매바 디는 자주 선바 세바이나도 디가 빠도 매바 용도 배 개발에 개발 봐도다 나와 도지 드나를 개도에 그 랭에 바사도서 이제 걔는 틸랭에 코나 마세샤이나 나 냐와를 걔네 아니 코나 냐와를 도서 말에 아니 자주 선바 디게 돼 아니 소리 개매 바전에 심정 망보 도전을 편사래 나 냐와를 걔네 가야면도 서면 뼈다 나네 아니 미나 동도 저 세바인 말이야 7 bar what the leg what the jabal tene and cause keba sumge and sort of dani and kaso de or kaso de sangela lamya de chiba de sungyo yore ya seba dila tene di digwa 축세 냐와라 천전은 마타발에 쓰게 된데게 숨겨져 요래 축제 냐와라 세베 디바디 축제 냐와라 패고 중네 안에 되네 야 타네 바 초바도 매봐서 세베디 라테네 디바 되네 축제 냐와라 배는 볼살라 다발에 시잖아 어디래 축스베 다들 세준이제 용되도 가이나 매나 왔다 된데게 자주세베 제베 냠내라 된데 나와들 용되기도 와 용되기도 랑도는 자원이네 저와매버자 랑이야 소리 겨원데 지금 디바 사에게 빠져 튕겨사 개개의 저와디 다 디바데 마중으로 지나서 코로나 팬배체도 난좀 디바서 들 내배체도 지금 와라다 마바잖아 들 팬배체도 나온데 아니 솔랍체부터 저대 디아베 코라 삼로 코와서 말에 차제 차서 봤다 세게 가서라다 전주서 망갑자들 세게 차제 용서 존대 왜 갑들라 아니 다들 디가서데 코란게 소데 다 코디 세마도 소에 지어봤다 어디게 아니 된게 깨라고 루주들 연구도 와 왔다 내가 디네 시스고다
So there is an account from one of the previous lives of the Buddha, which illustrates this verse, this point, when the Buddha was still on the Bodhisattva path and was traveling with 500 merchants in a ship, and the 500 were all Bodhisattvas, and that there was one person as part of that ship crew who had the intent to kill these merchants in order to become wealthy by being able to then take all their goods, and that the Bodhisattva who was to become the Buddha could see this person's motivation, could understand this person's motivation, could see what was about to unfold, and then considered all of the conditions of the situation, the pluses and minuses of taking action or of not taking action, and as a result of that analysis, it chose to kill the particular murderer, the would-be murderer, with a motivation completely suffused with compassion, compassion for this would-be murderer, to prevent him from accumulating such karma that would keep him in the hell realms from eon to eon to eon, and suffer. And so, not to mention the deaths of the bodhisattvas. And so it's kind of like here, the bodhisattva who was to become the Buddha understood the situation clear, and was able to completely act with a purity of motivation. And so as a result of that, he did kill that particular would-be murderer. He at the same time, of course, accumulated massive positive merit to kind of really quicken his path towards enlightenment, but also the negativity of killing was also on his mind stream. But such was the power of his positive and pure motivation, and that he is said to have spent just one moment in the hell realms as a result of that negativity, like a ball bouncing back up again, and then proceeded to on his way to enlightenment. And so, kind of like it's very, very clear that the bodhisattva who was to become the Buddha could see the opportunity for absolute benefit, only with that mind to benefit the situation, and certainly not just to save the lives of the 500 merchants, but of course to prevent the would-be murderer from accumulating such densely heavy negativity of killing bodhisattvas. And and then acted out of that, and it was, as a result, the result was a very meritorious one.
And then Niba Rangni las Niba Rangni be Magoba Shantideva Chobala Nicha what the Chobala Nicha Sansingi Tuba Chugi Tuba Chugi Tubacha and the Tambodilla Sansingi Tuba della Sumchena and Chica Segu Chumbata Mijibe Kebar and Jawa Tenzig Cheto Lula Nuba Mijava.
So in brief, what is being said in this verse is that when the correct opportunity arrives and one is fully infused solely with the benefit to others, then these 7 non-virtues of body and speech are allowed if one is able to maintain the purity of one's motivation. The next outline, the second of these 3 outlines, was that through our not in any way being tainted by fault, the activities or the behaviors of gathering others. And this has 2 subheadings. The gathering through giving of materials, material goods, and then the second is the gathering through the giving of Dharma. The first has 3 further subheadings, and that is the differentiating between what to give and what not to give. And then the second is to kind of advice as to not cause any harm to the body through for some insignificant reason, and thirdly, an explanation of what is necessary when giving of one's body. And the first of these, then, the differentiating between what to give and what not to give, and when, and so on. This is in verse number 85, and again, to remind ourselves that this is a kind of a verse relating to those who are ordained primarily. And it says, I should divide my food among those who have fallen to lower realms, those without protection and practitioners, and eat merely what is sufficient for myself. Except for the 3 robes, I may give away all.
And it's got Lobatonda, Adab Lobatonda, Lenibe Ongemani, Casodata, never to get the water. And Taganese, Yan, Saya Toya Kangit, Idala Sobata. And then Gomabala Sobata, when Chigi, Munetane, Robert Chigi, never can I tell you to Durata. That's suing by Hina, that long get the suing by Hina. And the Dushula never, Taganishan, let Dushula Nessa, the Rangi Namju, Jusu, Nebatilla Lone, and the Jusu Sambotilla net to a check, and Namlet Dushula never, Sanjula Yoba, Rota, Tobata the Sun, Sanjula, Netico Yobaina, Charlie Quacha, Soso Yobatil and Quachan, what Jecha, Chuapucha, Jachin, Jenna, Manu Rambatams, and Soso Saya data, Mount 사체와 많이 봐. 야네요 소소 류초와래 마땅와 된데 많이 봐. 안베 레마치 다 사오레스 사와차데 아마뉴 그래서 하장 마와다 하장 용와 미사와다 가자 수불 초투에 고에 대점직 또 맹기 뒤셔서를 샤르바 사고 그랬어. 아니 대신도 답에 소소를 지 요제 잡았는데 저래 아니 다 소소가 결혼이나 다 가자 그래서 추구 숨세대 숨주의 남자다 라고다 탐구에서는 숨중구여 다 결혼의 요제대 이 숨대다 소소라 디 지나치게 요바디 소소게 다부잡 하나 하마 요바되거든 집어당 그랬어 얘나 하나 롱하는 집어 잡았어 집어당 그랬어 잡았어도 어디서
So again, referring to the those who are ordained in terms of the food that they make use of, and here when one is eating to sustain the body then that is put to work for sentient beings, and one eats, and then if there's a remainder, then one can give that to those who are in the animal realm, in the hungry spirit realm, those who are protectorless. In other words, they have no one to help them. They are, need food and so on. And to practitioners, those who are perhaps in a particular practice and that they are needing sustenance in their practice as well. And so one is, this is the advice. One is advised to eat moderately, not too much and not too little, and that one eats with the sense that the food that one is eating is medicine for the body, and to eat it in that sense. And likewise, in relation to fully ordained monks, they have these 3 robes, and it says apart from those 3 robes, which they must look after well, if they have any extra, then they can be given away. They can be given to those who are begging or those who are in need.
지가서 다들 대송하는 시대 가서 semje shela pena do ine re ida ine da wada 지금 그러면 막 강내 태되게 pena 대샤이는 pena 지가서데 지금 소술로 마셔 강내 태 잡죠 와다 막 보여 다 된들 팬도 강투도 제도는 약으로 와서 그러 안 당하는 시야 지금 뒤출하는 냠내 지금 다 된들래 아니 저와 pena 팬바 좀도 빼면서 약으로 와 와다가 이제 가서도 랑을 튕겨 여와데 다 고쳐 받지지 아니 랑게 류디에 아니 최대로 류디에 거 지금 초하다 유림부지 네트워크이나 아니 최 아니 유림부보다 좀 두고 요사 냠내 유림부지 두고 요서 아니 뒤에 다보야고 잡 고그로 와 룰라 차나 되게 요말 룰라 차바이나 아니 랑 류기 생활도 저는 류기 요거 차트 그래 얘네야 류디 라 고코르다나 류도 수수 다 차트 아니 디 가서래 디 된다라 아니 디바 망고 사주 그래 디바 망고 사주도 아니 류도 소소 다 장고마 소리 차도도 와 디네 인자 시작하나 류네 다다 통매 just 류도 뭐냐잖아 지금 류 코랑게 저봐 여봐 제조나 아니 소소를 내면도 요마다 소소를 다 디바 망고 사자 류네 디고도 디바 망고 사주고 소리지 이마 이나야 배주 당시나 류데 배주 당시나 당시만은 아니 되게 양 가서라 류들 코로나 고해랑 가르샤 안 디게도 좁잖아 아니 그 유름분네 대단네야를 가르치고도 아니 디 통계도 좁아지나 아니 소소 냠내 지근제나 아니 딜라데나 전에 아니 소소 유름부 초토와 대 류데 때문에 제투고 열와 대주바이나 아니 소나 몽고 류데 때문에 사투고 열 근데 이사 류 코로나 차진 가르고도 되게 대다다 당외시 받지 안 되잖아 손나만 사두야 다야 그 최주에 통계만 붙두고 해서 어디대체 아니 소소 되네 디 통계 되네 소소 하기도나 아니 강토도 지마다 편바 주에 뭐다 지금 라도 중고저 개점 수위네 다 제토바이나 아니 그 가서라다
So even though this verse is really aimed at those who are ordained, it should be taken on by whoever, really, if you're kind of like seriously into one's practice, to to partake of whatever one is partaking of in moderation, etc., and to be able to take the opportunity to give extra food to animals and to the hungry spirits, to other practitioners, to in any way help out, of course, and to be able to see that food that we are partaking of as medicine to sustain the body towards virtue at all times as well. And so it's kind of like this is easily adaptable for any kind of practitioner, where we use our own kind of good fortune in having enough food as a good condition, as a good condition for practice, to be able to see that, and not kind of like to give our body everything that it wants out of attachment to the body itself. And in that way, we just become a servant to the body. And that can so easily happen as well. So we must kind of really avoid that and avoid kind of accumulating negativities in relation to the body based on that kind of attitude. And so it's kind of like here, it's not so, thinking that, oh, the body wants this, or the body needs this, the body needs that, the body needs this, that, and the other thing. And this is going easily go over the top and too far into a negativity. We can, maintain the body and kind of nourish the body to live a long, healthy life in order to be able to refine our capacity to benefit others more and more and more. And that motivation is clearly aimed at using the body for the accumulation of merit, to kind of refine our attitude again and again and again, to see, okay, it's good to look into what is needed then to maintain the body in that way, the different health of the food and so on, and to kind of make sure that we sustain that motivation throughout. Yeah.
그래도 니마이나 미 사회 매 통해 매네 아니 사회 통계 마산에 민나고 여러 수부터 차요. 다들 가서 지금 통계 야다 지나야 사회 유연네 민나티기도. 그러나 니마이나 사회 매네 아니 미강에테 어다디 니자 사회 시라요 som을도 그래서 니마 케미컬 시라요 말에. 안 들리서 사회 딱고 마당 사회 마라베 강에다 사회 라바데 쉬우쉬우 내고 다디샤 통계 야드시들 통계 야드시마다 이내 통계 쪽보다 배샤 쪽보서야 저도 거기 깨매를 감이 되면로 근데 저도 다 통계 되게 소소들 편도 지고 네 소소 수고를 내야 되기도 하다.
So the food has an interesting history in regard to the food, really, when you think about it. In past times, people had met difficulties due to a lack of food. There was always kind of a need for more nourishment, and they became sick and died. And so, as for famine and so on, because of a lack of food. Nowadays, because of food, because of having enough and plenty of food, we also have illness and death and people being, constantly ill. And this may be due to the fact that, there were no chemicals involved in the growing of food in the past. But now, in this time, like we are eating something that we think will bring benefit to us, but because of the chemicals involved, it's also causing us illness and harm.
다 가이나면나 아니 저기 셀라 짐바데 다 가서 거두셔왔네 짐바데 다 저기 랑게 쥐샤왔네 제전에 아니 저기 겨와 치마 변절라 아니 저기 통계되게 딜라들 용되기도 이내야 다 장조 선배 냠네 지금 그 짐바다 와데 남이라 라와메 봐 레다 남에 녜들레 제발 출렁갈 때레 편도 용거서 데데 라와메 보지 심지어 코로나 편법 바시 두에체도 아니 군원디가 다 심지어 또 산제 고마토 외체도 왔다까지 된데체 지바타에 안다가는 짐베유 아니 짐베제 지바땅에 소소간가 아니 유대는 말도 똑바로 팔다 잡래 삼사제 와 지바타에 Chibata, and Chibata wa de la tene, what Patata res, and the Tomba Nitla, some of the Tomba di la tene, and Rangula Dewa. Yawati and Nevel Lotti, Tomanias or something. Tata, the Donis way she was get to go your marite. Inea, because nobody is yet to nobody is yet to what in the summer Tamayina, and the Donis maybe she gay, and it was a twin yellow to a lamb yet to a jungurwa.
And so from our side, you know, in terms of any kind of generosity in kind of like here, it's the generosity of food and so on, that we, you know, we must give with as pure a motivation as we possibly can. And here, you know, we may have in our minds like the notion of that we will kind of hopefully gain a future a positive human rebirth here, but it's best that we have no hope or no expectation of a ripening result out of the act of generosity that we are aiming our generosity 100% of. It's solely for the benefit of all sentient beings, and as well as that, we can consider the objects that the kind of the object of our generosity, the materials that we are giving, and the act itself ourselves as well as being absolutely empty of any objective existence and merely imputed by thought. And abiding in that sense of emptiness, we give rise to a sense of bliss, which combines with voidness, and we can abide in the wisdom of non-dual bliss and voidness. And even if we can't, you know, actually do this, we should do this in terms of having it as our aspiration, you know, to visualize this for ourselves as being very significant, very auspicious, to kind of bring us closer to the path itself.
Did it. Taganishi Marazo Khalid Chevene, Pena Marazo Pugu, Pamaga Pula, Kala Tegre, Dulo Tegre, and Karine Twinja Roba Chigre. I don't know what Chevekala Taganishingi, and Robachisa you Pugu, Pula Kari Tegriana, and the taking social you didn't malo talk about Patatamre, and they were the Dominis Visitor. I'm going to Chobapina, all that Chobapiva in it, and Chobapisa you good job. Sanje Choi Kindu, and Swagishin Kadeseta, Lama Yitam Kadeseta Wina, and the pig Chuba Kadesina, the Chuba Pigo, Soso Chavaka, and you tell Madu, Toba Patar, some detail, they were there, don't you was Takata, Netan Kablech by Ine. Pusa you, Ze, Pugin Soso, you tell my Toba Patar, detail, that don't you give so what the leg Kawaii. Because some of the government and continue to whatever you know. Tagana Chonga Chala, you were Chala Yosaki Kansa, better manager in a kind of teacher. And a Chala, and you go so go, you tell my dog Pata some less. But that been a new Tessa, new Kora, will take a so go, you tell my dog Pata some less. They were that Kankala. Some down to a jenny. The late one Kadu in some of the get the Kasa Kasure. Namam Shushugi, let to a church. Could you cook up? Could you in a cook up? That then take some of the not some of the Chagua. Tata was Tomba Nigo, Dr. Tony Toyo Mare, and the Casore, the Tonis Shike or Mare, Twas came into one. Danda some of the letter consumpts a kill Kato the Shenda Mindawa and the Sajo Chambo Chongurwa. Kiawa Lapchabu, Dana was a Kiawa Sajo Chambo Yoma, Nuba Yomare. To get George, Nuba Chambo Yoma, cousin, when no more shook Chambo Shuja Dirwa. Namam Shuju let to Gorwa. Kiwe Chog Nuba Shabundua. That the nature Trine. Could you let to a chena? Could you not somebody get up to a Chavina? We need to get up to a Chavina. And we need to share yet to grow.
So this process of of giving rise to a bliss that combines with voidness, and we can abide in the wisdom of non-dual bliss and voidness, is really worthwhile applying in all situations. Indeed, there are countless situations in which we can apply this particular visualization. For example, in a parental role where one is helping one's child, giving food or giving clothing, again, to consider that any kind of help like that, that the child, the object that one is giving, oneself as the agent, are all empty of objective existence and merely imputed by thought. That is, abiding in emptiness produces a bliss that combines with voidness, and we abide in the wisdom of non-dual bliss and voidness. In a situation where we're making offerings, and so again, in a situation here, the triple gem are empty. The object that we are offering, ourselves as the agent, again, lacking any objective existence, merely imputed by thought. The bliss, the voidness, the abiding in the wisdom, non-dual bliss and voidness. That whatever we are involved in, it could be in a shop when we're buying something. So the seller, the object that we are buying, are as the ones giving over the money. All of the situations like this, that we kind of like, even though we have no kind of like realization of emptiness now, but to find ways in which we can apply the doctrine and the theory of emptiness like this, I think is very, very important. And that we kind of our difficulty at the moment is where the virtues that we do engage in have no special kind of power to them. And why is that? Because they're so mixed up with mental affliction. And so I think this is one way of really empowering our virtue, to kind of always combine it with this bliss and emptiness. And in so doing, we are laying down imprints on the mind every single time to get closer to the purity of the path ourselves.
아니 다가네 신게 짐바 삐다고 요에 쳐도 아니 돈이 도베 셔럽 심바치 자주 그서다 돈이 도베 셔럽 니그 심바이나 아니 데데그 짐바티 아니 지가서데 지가서 셔럽 그 파진게 냠내를 줘야게 딱까지 지금 그서다 딱까지 저와 여러봐 다 데데 인도 왔다까지 짐바 땅 왔대 그저 삐다고 짐바서데 제 말로 계자 말에 삼바 자체 중 아니 되게 짐베게 아니 가서데 가서 삼바 자체 중다 아니 다가네 생각 가서래 그 미유 자체 중 아니 다가네 생각 와던데게 다가네 생각 아니 짐바데 아니 가서데 랑신 짐바데 우유 내수 가리 바데 아니 셈게 심바 와라다 베다 군조다 돈다베 내수 되게데 아니 저 가서 셈게 심베토네 랑신 메베 게 가서 답투바 돈이 그 따외게 같이 심토바 되게 아니 짐바디 코에 줄라 마토와 아니 가서데 코에 줄라 마토와 자주 셈베스바다나 산지 줄라 줘 되게 뭐다 되게 아니 가서데 즉 가서데 즉 개견데 튕이 차와 야부수 차도도 와 뭐다 그 강투도게 뭐다 가자 저 심토바 쟤네 심도가 지난다 나 이렇게 집어 땅에도 담고 개쳐 버렸다 예 집어 땅에도 왔다 내가 되거려서 말해 집어 땅 도바 땅을 평면도 되게 자주 그 생겼어 봐 돈이 또 배셔라 그 생각 자도는 집어 푸순 도바 쳐도 와 그럼 집어 푸순 도바 쳐도 왔다디 아니 그 랍쳐와 주나 왔다디 두투엘 다 배전 찍으러 와 어디래.
So this is about really ensuring that our acts of generosity are done with the best possible kind of potential, kind of we do the best quality kind of generosity that we can. So when we're talking about a quality act of generosity, regardless of what it is, we are doing so with the combined mind of the mind of enlightenment and emptiness, and we're kind of giving through with our motivation imbued by those two understandings. And in so doing, we can ensure that we will be close to being able to also perfect the perfection of wisdom ultimately. And that this is very important, that the material that we're giving, the object that we are giving, is not that important. It's really the motivation with which we give, the objective for which we are giving. These are important, that we are kind of the breadth or the depth or profundity of our act of generosity is what's really important. And this means we have understood the actuality of the situation. We've taken in the import of conventional as well as ultimate wisdom. And here that we are not what we are doing by being able to give in this spirit as well as in this actual way, is to avoid our act of generosity just being simply a cause for cyclic existence, but it also guarantees that our act of generosity becomes a cause for enlightenment. And I think this is so important, that we get used to even the most insignificant act of generosity, of engaging in it with the mind imbued by the mind of enlightenment and the understanding of emptiness, the wisdom of emptiness, as described just now. The second of these subheadings was to avoid any harm to the body for the sake of something insignificant. And verse number 86 fills this out a little, where it says, "The body which is being used for the sacred Dharma should not be harmed for any slight benefit. By my behaving in this way, the wishes of all beings will be quickly fulfilled."
Ludi yobal tene nagi yore chagi yore gengo chagi yore da ganja shitogo yore ludi yobal tene yongda ludi dungen naso yongya daga ni je ludi 튕겐 자리에 쳐도 안 소소 깔래 쉬우잖아 다 ganja 지 사야 통야다 되게다 대사다 되게 저 당고서 깔래 쉬우자고도 깔래 쉬우잖아 아니 가셔를 마비 셔고 고고 땅고 여러다 잠만다 저 ludi 초예게 쳐도다 아니 지금 아버지 제대로 안 들려되네 겨우 처음부터 동네 빠도 몇 주만 버져 주다 합되는 소소 오늘 류디 소소 자소로 저래도 자자고 소저 래도 류디 소소 자 뇌기가 소저 래도 이나양 그러 어다 들려 초진의 삼로도 그 소소 뇌 되겠지 다 이나양 오늘 류디 야구장 송접 전에 아니 디 류디를 대여발 때는 양원도 추림 송도고 요래 아니 셴발 펜바 줍도고 야 근데 주변에 구급제 먹고 싶도가 그거 먹고 싶도가 왔다 근데 임바에서 어디겠다 개경원에 시베 토네 아니 류디 아니 토라마다 제네 아 류디 송접 제네 아니 류디 아니 그거 지금 타바다 탐색 셴바 줍도에게 네버디게 배주 당하잖아 다 류디 송네 아니 추림 송예 수점 송도에 되는 영도 아니 류디 규릉부 같은 내봐 잠게 아니 수점도 규릉과 송도 그래 어느 소남다 이시가 초망부 저투그로 와 어다 된데 이마인사 거지 된데 이마자 아니 류디 털라마다 어디 개쳐버려도 와 배주 땅다리 심어이나
So here it's saying really how best to be able to use this basis that we have of this body, this human body, and to kind of really have a good understanding of how to use it well. Because when we look at it, really, we can kind of easily fall into the kind of the analysis of seeing this body as just a kind of a whole kind of container of suffering in many ways. That this body gets ill, gets old, dies. There's all sorts of faults with it, and so on. And not only that, but there's so much effort and hassle just looking after it. You have to feed it. You have to make sure that that there's enough sleep. There's a place for it to stay and rest, and so on. And it's a constant concern to even just to sustain the body, to the point of where we can actually start to look on the body as some sort of an enemy. Here. But we can also look on the body as being something that is a great opportunity, with something of great potential. That this body is a basis on which we can engage in perfect ethical conduct. This is the basis for us to be able to go and help others in every possible way we can. And so it has this incredible potential. It's up to us then to be able to use it in that way, to abide in those ethics, to accumulate that merit, to be able to add to the collections of wisdom and merit if we happen to be able to sustain this body for a long time. And so therefore, we can see it can do a great deal of good, and we shouldn't in any way compromise that by living an unhealthy existence or wasting this opportunity.
타바다 탐제 gembe lamlo 드네 시 차대고 여봐 담배 최니에서 담배 최네 죄베데 담배 최 투베게 소에게 당부 삼로 돈에 소토바지 시바체고 시바 소베도네 아니 데데 죄 투베 아니 덴도 주바 덴데게 덴도 류데데 주토바이나 데데 주에 류데데 아니 란지 류데라 랑게 류데라 아니 셴라 판도 제바이네 판도 자체 정도도 삼로 코토바체네 나 팬도 충충 저기 돈달에 안 류초라 단주요 말았어. 아니 팬도 대 자체종 로 베나체티아 체치마 아니 베텐도 디게 다들 자체종 내주 시버터는 아니 팬도 체제 나가 뉴뉴 저기 된도 아니 류를 봐 지죠. 베 자체보 제도 류도 초라 단주 뭐 내가 미쳐와 숨겹치고 그랬어. 대다 송화전에 아니 가서 류된 딜라서 연대 톱네 다 류된 딜라 아니 가서 다가 저기 가서 된대 툭툭에게는 가서 누가 때네 다 타이버마게 심지 탐제로 된 툭툭에게는 시작다 되게 시작받잖아 뭐요 내수 되게 시작받잖아 그러다 시작받잖아 연대 토받잖아 라제 심지 탐제게 사바 뉴도 줘야게 딱 가서 줘도에 아니 교육와지 제도받지 그랬어.
So then, to be able to use this body in the best possible way, and as it says in the verse itself, to be able to kind of use the body in such a sense that it fulfills the wishes of all beings quickly. This is the ultimate way. And so here, in terms of engaging in, that's what's referred to as the sacred Dharma here. When we are engaging in the sacred Dharma, we're using our body in this way, then we have to be careful how we go about benefiting others. If it's if there's danger to the body due to some insignificant benefit to others, then we should choose not to engage in that. Because that might be at risk, kind of like we have to weigh up all the situations, all the kind of benefit. Is it just for the sake of this life, this benefit? Is it going to influence future lives as well? The extent of the benefits involved here. But if it's something insignificant, one should not just kind of put one's body in danger, and one must protect it. because so on the basis, as it said, of this body, one can, through accomplishing all good qualities, really fulfill the wishes of sentient beings quickly. And therefore, in that situation, one must choose the greater benefit, of course.
단지 배는 연구를 배는 가라서 지다 소소 남이다 아니 소소게 소소 틀려 유게다 남이다 비비자다 조고 된데를 편도 제지 연구를 와 다들 들 편도 제와 야보를 때 내가 타입에 맞게 심제 탐제를 편도 제게 로이 심베토네 제지 로이 심베토네 심네 아니 디 아니 가서 디 안다가 차전을 줘도 제지 나한테 내가 갑자기 된데가 돈 주네요 강에 제도도 아니 마기바 대가 많이 받자 서마 고양 보잖아 아니 디 소소 마기바 차야다 개개 만들어 왔잖아 아니 샘 고양 보잖아 타에 마게 섬제 탐자라 편토에게 아니 니버테 도했지 월 충중 제도를 마당 왔잖아 디라 때는 아니 챔비 돈 주도했지 촐라 마당 왔잖아 류덴티 촐라 마당 왔잖아 타에 마게 섬제 탐자가 돈 주버지 내주 충주자 편바도 안디 돈 주버를 샘 마기 와잖아 아니 강에 텐데데 소소게 지 나로가 이몬 세세드네 내나자 저 강에 테기도 근데 서바 고양 보잖아 타에 마게 섬제 탐자가 돈 주도 얘기 아니 로케체네 아니 편바도 되는데 아니 그 돈다 충주 중 강에 테도 강에 대삼지 요거 말아 봐 디 강에 대시 아마도체 아니 지용 그런 편바도 로데 그 미바디 냠조나 아니 방법으로 왔다가 이제 충의 제도 첨불려 단위요 말했어. 충주적 제도 첨불려 단위요 말했어. 충주대 두고 그래라 디 충주 디에는 첨부도 좀 받지고 그랬어. 그리고 아무도 남이다 소저 파마도 편도 주고로 편도 제바디 타이가 맞게 심제 탐자를 편도 주에 유디되는 좀 받지고 있다. 나도 좀 어떤 충무 된대질라는 첨불려 단거 소리잖아. 지금은 도와. 뒤에 말려 봤자 뒤 때는 전부 두 배가 로데 깨도 봤잖아. 주 연구로 와. 어디 삼로장.
So here, and we're looking into, the benefits that we can bring to family and relatives, those we are close to, and so on. And that's something, of course, very, very good. But it pales in significance if we're unable to imbue the mind with the benefit to all sentient beings by doing so. So it's kind of like we need to have this big picture in mind as much as we possibly can, to imbue the mind with the mind of enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, even when we're engaging in small acts of generosity locally. And that's and this means that, when problems are met, that we are not overwhelmed by these problems, because we have such a big objective, to fulfill, and we're not bothered by incidental, small little obstacles, and we can, not see these problems as real problems, but something to get beyond and get onto our big project, as it were, and to keep the mind open. Like I said, to keep the big picture in mind. It's very, very mind in sense of they that small problems don't become problems for us because of that, and that we have the objective of working for the benefit of all sentient beings clear. As it says, don't forsake, for the sake of the small, don't forsake the big, is saying. So here, we are, duty bound to be a benefit to our family, our friends, our relatives, and close, and that's very good. But to have, don't forsake all sentient beings for the sake of that. We have easily be able to imbue our motivation with that motivation for the benefit of all sentient beings when we're engaging in any good to any person.
충을려 당나 되고 열다 얘네 충을 제도 첨불려 당나 다들 되고 요 말이야. 다들 되게 매번 인자 딱 가서 충을도 맞고 그래. 야 되네 말이야. 가 충을도 듣고야 정말 배는 소속이 낭미다. 파마 저 산달라서 봐. 되게라 편바 두외주 연구네. 다 편바 두외 뒤야 첨보다 제가 요근데 타입에 맞게 심제 탐제기 편바 두외 굴롱 심베토네. 다디 진짜야 막힌 거 심지 남주 쉬다오네. 진짜야 막힌 거 심지 다른 레게 온게 나라 딜라 편바투 국갑 중화를 했습니다. 아니 편바투 디 편바투바티 라테네 마오발라 타이바 막게 심지 탄제 편바투에 주를 주와쇼 섬사게 디 튼제도 주와쇼 섬사게 어때 내가 섬을 잡아 있나다 그 갑도 제다 충조절에 딜라데는 첨부터 저와 차되기도 와. 첨부터 저와 차되기도 와. 와다 디 통계를 줘야. 디 계결을 만들어야. 와들잖아. 아 딜라데는 란전전의 숙도 충도 주고도 와. 지단의 란전에 열어 소소 파마 조부 이미 좀 저기 지금 열때 이나양 가소라 이나양 디 타입에 맞게 심지기 탐제기 라 펜버 주위에 다리 와서다 구급소를 쓰네. 와다 구급 중앙에 삼사전에 와다 간제 안 하도도 모두 레당보아서도 소소的 저와지 매와 있는 또 제하고 열에 근데 저와 중앙에야 디 타입에 맞게 심지 탐제 공이 뭐데 못 쳐배잖아. 아니 디 타입에 맞게 심지 탐제라 펜버 주위에 아니 가소래 고치베 소라치 디 고츠베 소라 제토가 이나 아니 그 자체 못 찾고도 와. 근데 삼당 조사를 봐.
So here it's the extent of the benefit we can bring to any situation, and here to kind of make the connection with the most vast motivation that we can come up with. And then we are talking about here, all kind mother sentient beings that we have within our motivation, and that these countless sentient beings that we are repaying and to kind of bring them into all of our motivation. So when we're engaging in acts of generosity, in kind of towards those who are most convenient for us, like our family, our friends, and so on, those we engage with every day, not to leave it just as that kind of like a smaller kind of motivation, but rather to see them as kind mother sentient beings, and due to the karma of the situation, I have this opportunity now to be able to be of benefit to them in this particular material way or whatever way, but to extend that to, may it be the case that I can really benefit them with the Dharma in the future and lead them to enlightenment, and lead all sentient beings likewise to enlightenment, thus really expanding that into the bodhicitta motivation. And so it's a very important to see these situations as an opportunity that we are seizing in order to maximize the significance of each opportunity that we have for generosity. And as a beginner, it's important for us to be able to do this. We need to develop this way of making connection, and doing so by connecting to the most profound motivation that we can in all of the minor acts of generosity that we engage in. And so that gives, the situation its true vast significance. And as it said there, that, we shouldn't forsake the great for something insignificant. But we should forsake the insignificant for something that is of greater significance.
Suma lui chiba tongre dui da goba sheba ne sa zawale ningje samba mata ba lui de tangwa mi jawa chine de da shendo ya denje jube ju tangwo sam.
The third of this list of subheadings was in relation to the giving of the generosity of giving of one's body. And so what is necessary at that time? And verse number 87 states, those who lack the pure intention of compassion should not give their body away. Instead, both in this and future lives, they should give it to the cause of fulfilling the great purpose.
다베 셴체베 근데 다까지 장주 셈데 로다까지 제베 장주 서바 당보와데 다 장주 서바 사당보와서 사당보 닌제도 삼바 마다버 덴데 점마게 봐도 조회 류를 당와 미죠 무슨 거를 류 당와 당와 당다 당으로 말했어 지다다 지금 가서도 류당 류가 이좀 객자지죠 봤다 답에 객자 네 no long ju se ina lu tang se de le yang ko che du zu ji ma le pa do ko tang ba ina yang che ju be lu den de ko so de ta ka ja ya lu den de ta ka ja ko so de 我说大概在那把接触过或这个偏旁的太阳嘛跟什么更高的偏旁就用都嘛吧或这个偏旁的但电影太阳嘛跟什么忙不起来偏多一个绿的出来着呢也如果有嘛的但是对的对嘛应把写过的是写不起过的是对嘛应把动完是对的连续送别是但对嘛应把动完那样对的连续是的他确实把这了做一个
And so this specifically relating to the giving of one's body and so on here saying when there is in any sense an incompleteness of the compassion in one's own motivation or there's some impurity of one's intention where it's in any way inauthentic here one should not give the body. And so it's saying here too that, you know, generally speaking, when one reaches the first Bodhisattva level, that the capacity for the giving of one's body is there. But it says one must be aware of the correct time in which to do that. That if the time has not come, it can be harmful to do that. And that one must wait for the time when and when not to be able to give the body. Likewise, it said here, when it's the wrong time, it can be influenced by demons, kind of like, hinting at giving the body, and for kind of like it can be counterproductive.
다 최저의 개개인을 저저는 거 봐라 사당보다 장주 선바 사당보다 레바 이마이나 되네 거 리디 이식을 르르 줘도 아니 거 미고자 미래 집바다 아니 가르 거와이나 집바다 야 된도 줘도 거 두번 거야 두번인데 아니 거 최저의 개개인 차가 말 통계를 줘 되기도 와
So again, sorry to clarify, at the first Bodhisattva level, of course, one has the wisdom body at this stage, and so one can at that point give the body freely, that it becomes a positive, conducive condition for one's practice rather than something holding one back.
다 이나야 루고스 집바다에다 롱고 말이데 이나야 가서도 동샘 고문에 동샘 고문이나 진해자 동샘 고네 라고 류자자 뭐도 류고거슬 받지바다네 패바다네 어디에 집안에 안 소자도 뭐서 와주에 가서 주에서 세랍디다 아니 시엔도 된치부 주에 주 땅워서 세랍디다 아니 저거 가서 다 같이 차를 시엔도야 아니 심제가 돈 자치부 주에 주라는 뭐 동샘 변에 받 동샘 공부제도 개치 못했어.
And it's also pointing out here that when we have fully habituated to the mind of generosity, that is kind of like one has really considered this over again of giving everything we have, including the body. So we have become very, very habituated to thinking in this way. One is also cognizant of the vast collections of positive merit that can be gained. Not just and the kind of like the significance from life to life, that one is able to be giving for the motivation, the great purpose as mentioned in the verse. Then in such situations, then it is possible to give one's body as an act of generosity.
다 저외 류 가서 무엇을 동안 주나 당어서 레당보를 rungu 말에 소야 란진진 오게 마다와들에 많이 받지 패스브 받다 란진진게 온게 많이 받지는 아니 저 타입에 막겠으면 탐자를 팬톱에 그 아니 둘라 민다 마민데 아니 셰베 돈에 마다와 지르다 그래도 란진진게 꾸넬라네 아니 류당와 많이 와도 많이 받지 란진진 꾸넬라네 매접에 류당라야 바탕 누에게 아니 로이 누가 찾아 동생 검네 파트 이나야 무엇을 땅에 가라다 땅에 뒤 땅나 다지그 거서데 땅에 뒤를 레말레데 아니 거서데 못쳐봤지 저의 땅에 뒤를 레말레데 못쳐봤지 아니 이 땅에 레말레서데 란전생기 온게 땅 많이 받더니 많이 받지 ranchese onke and lutang manuba mai bacha.
So it's kind of like we can see how far away this is from the beginner's point of view, and that you know it's very, very clear also that one must not give the body away when there is any when a mind that is imbued or even connected to self-cherishing, the self-cherishing attitude. This is kind of like again where you know kind of like the mind that is not 100% the mind of generosity. Then there's going to be difficulty. Then you're going to be kind of like say influenced by kind of a demonic forces in giving the body away, and that would be incorrect and counterproductive. And so one must be very, very clear about the motivation for which one is giving such the body away like this, and in no way should it be in any way tainted by self-cherishing.
What in the message? Kasana call Kaja, you are Karsana, and then called Lut Java, Tubala Sobachina Pachimata, and Jella, the nigger Sem Yam Sota, never Chazan me, never Insa, never Chaza member the young Jella, Giovaki, Nizuma, good young do, but the nigger Negache, Yorilla, Tagani Shiggy Pena, Luti, Tolatama Yina, Ya, Semjan, Jachabala turn to Elia, Pache, on the Yore. That the name is a simple new chasa to my girl, to Mammy Pato, to Mammy Pato, that got a Lucina Matibachi, Lumos Matibachi, Lengu Yorba, what Lengu Yora, what the nigger needs to chasa, what I came to what the chase, so in a Pepati, Luchamango, Chichamango, and Simja Rana, Konchok, tell mean by Chibataya, Tabataya, what in the channel.
And so saying here that, of course, in normal circumstances and in our context, the giving of the body is proscribed and not recommended. It's only when one has fully ripened that mind of generosity to the point where one can see the benefits also of giving the body away. And so it's kind of like we must not be misdirected in any way that might later cause regret or anything like that, or that, you know, that will see that body, that basis that we have for so much merit is wasted. And not just for our own sake, but the fact that all sentient beings have been denied the benefit that could have come from the virtue that we would have engaged in otherwise. And so here one has to be absolutely certain that the mind of generosity for the giving of one's body has been fully ripened, and in that case, you know, when one has that capacity, then it's possible to give the body away hundreds of times.
What in the Kanja Satangola Lebaina, Ludi Shig Rajic Lula Jodo, and Chibakanda Tabaina, Seba make a joint in your head. And then up to the Lutu, church between yellow Lutu Goguna, then up to the Lutu.
So because for example, having reached the first Bodhisattva ground, one can, you know, with 100% assurance and 100% purity of motivation, give the body away again and again and again, and then through the power of the truth, then the body is restored automatically again. And so that's part and parcel of the kind of the qualities of somebody at that level. So let's leave it there for today.
What is that? What Namdin is teacher? And that comes to order to Kawaki and Kawayina, Tungela Mother was never chewing a Junjo Kumbasha. And a rangi chivo and a chicken Pama Tabjet to so some Kumbasha. Then Chinanga Chuk and Chiba in a year, you didn't do what do some Yomari, some Kumbasha, talk about part of the Kaja, Kazam Kumbasha. And the day gave a lot, and Chivo Pema Tabjet and you make one Yakan to so such. That's just Tamjaga to the Sanja Kumanu, and the Matana Tigudo, Toba Chigi, some Kumbasha, and then they go to Bate. 니메도 다외기 원약을 줄서 산세는 반대자외 라마를 보지 다게 지워 빼면 거기 구소도 정보를 찾을 수 있는데 담배 값소 패 니베 값소 수목을 땡주는 산디에 고마마도 받을 제수 송수 선서적보다 야부시고 정서 어때 고마시
And so then we begin the dissolution by preparing a suitable seat on our crown to invite the Guru Buddha. And here, reflecting on renunciation, the fact of this reality being in the nature of suffering and not being able to get beyond it, and really that desire to gain definite emergence from it, symbolized by the lotus seat mandala. And then this a knowledge of all inner and outer phenomena lacking any objective existence, and that of merely being imputed by thought and abiding in that mere negation of the object of negation, producing the sun disk mandala seed. And then all sentient beings in working our motivation to strive to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, this mind of enlightenment, and to quickly be able to attain that state is symbolized by the moon disk mandala seat. Then we utter the invocation verse thrice. So, glorious and precious root Guru, come take your lotus and moon seed placed here on my crown. Keep me safe in your kindness. Bestow on me the attainments of body, speech, and mind. At the end of the first recitation, the figure moves from the space in front towards our crown. At the end of the second, the figure has found that seat on our crown, and at the end of the third, we have the certainty that they will remain with us until we attain the state of enlightenment itself, and we rejoice in that. That's something that's really, really good.
Oh yeah, what is compassion? That Yala to my marriage, Javapu, or Tosa to Janche, or the Chen, Chanzawana Tree, so was just a just a Tunda Janju, such a British Church, but religion, but the Sanjation, Doganam Shall, Idangoro, Mindala, Niantaya, Miss, what the lesson Yala to my marriage, Javapu, and then Yanjo, the nation of Kwasha. Never joining in George comes to Georgia to cover Kivaine, but Munetane, that you could do what's in his own medication. What did you combat? Don't make a rashi in the and telling you what you're in combat and take a lot, running the Pamata Jessica, some such. And the Chinaga choke a dish when you don't do on your mother, so that because of the same quota much combat. What in the combat? And the dig Gacha Kazam gave a lottie. Many because a Pamata might give an image of Yakawachos. Simja Tamde to Sanjay Komanyo, Madame Tomato Tobachi, Sansago, Combashet, the Nego Dumbate, and the making when Yaka attend or the Tawiki when Yakawash, the Susa, the Nepandets, Lama, Taganiga permitted Kaji Kuzu to Jumut, the Sudan, a Sunday Basum, Sunday Tambeka, Sotan, Ma Niba Kasu, Subeka, Tendush, Sanjay Komamato, with the Chess Sons of Combashet, then and then Pamata and Nabu Netan, the Shen Chatikan Tojika, Sangama Kaja. The Tagoto, to met a diet of monuments, diet of monuments, diet of monuments, Basum Code, Tene, Jesu Jamaica, Umarabasana, Basum Cotic. Then attending a woman yet on my head of yet on my head of mother, Shamana saw us the Nenga, Basum Code, Dech. What in the commercial? Then what in the commercial? Yeah.
Then we offer the 7-limb prayer practices as well as the mandala to purify negativity and to accumulate positive merit. And then we go through the process again of establishing a suitable seat at our heart center to invite the Buddha from our crown. And again, reflecting on renunciation, how we are absolutely certain now that there is no fully qualified happiness to be found in this reality and to want definite emergence from it. This is symbolized by the lotus mandala seat. And again, knowing how all inner and outer phenomena lack any objective existence, they're merely imputed by thought, and going through that meditation to reach the point of the mere negation of the object of negation, producing the sun disk mandala seat. and how, how important it is that we strive to attain, how I must attain that state of enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings, and giving rise to the mind of enlightenment, producing the moon disk mandala seed. And again, the invocation verse of glorious and precious root Guru, come take your lotus and moon seed placed here at my heart. Keep me safe in your kindness. Bestow on me the attainments of body, speech, and mind. At the end of the first recitation, the figure moves down through our crown, through the central channel. At the end of the second, they have arrived at our pre-prepared seat. And at the end of the third, they will remain until we attain the state of enlightenment. Again, we rejoice in this. Then the petals of the lotus fold over and are sealed at the tips by a 5-pronged semi-white vajra. And they are then surrounded by the name mantra of Shakyamuni Buddha in a clockwise direction, the mantra of Manjushri in an anti-clockwise direction, and the mantra of dependent origination again in a clockwise direction.
Rangi Toma Meban Sabe, Tibet, Kabaduya, and his Kasurata, Lugu, Sum, Nagashi, Igi Suge, and Migechubuga today. Kajatik, Rota Migechubuga, Yabaka Saba, Yaba Dedapa, and Taganish, that Jabakana, Ranshin Kanaban, Yabaka Saban, Setian, Sangama, Dingama, Tomama, Dibata Tikotaba, Judge Dasu Samsa. Taganish, Sodaga Tomata Koa, Janjus Lava Koa, Sanga, Tamsita Koa, Padamalama, Gubata, Jebel Loban, draw so much of Kujosula, Never Legend, Tambechepo, Papa Junduko, Simja, Never Legend, Timami Yosa, Tai, Jesu Gival, Shen Gival, Jesu Irano, so Donato, Tabe Jesu, Koanya, Zomin, Swachi, continue when Pachajeta, Junsu, Tagandi Lugin as a single to me, Josu Komani, Zalun, Tile, John, Kanata, the Tabaran Jabashi, Chado, Yawashi, Sons of Kumashi.
And so then the light rays begin to emanate from the heart center of the Buddha within the lotus and permeate through every atom of body, from the soles of the feet to the crown of the head, and purifying all negativities and obscurations accumulated since beginningless time. And in particular, purifying all of the 10 non-virtues of killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, of harsh speech, divisive speech, lying, and idle gossip, and of malicious intent, covetousness, and wrong view. It is purifying all of the naturally occurring negativities, as well as all those that have been proscribed by the Buddha. They are purifying negativities that we have engaged in this life, in previous life, in the one before that, and indeed all life going back to beginningless time. It is purifying all infractions of our vows, be they the Pratimoksha vows or the Bodhisattva vows or the Tantric vows. It's purifying all disrespect that we have shown to our parents, right through to our gurus, and all the negativities that we have engaged in ourselves, those we have enticed others to do, those that we have rejoiced in the doing of. All those negativities are purified. All the imbalances within the body leading to illness and sickness and so on, and in the mind leading to mental problems, the imbalances to the elements of the body and the channels, winds and drops, these have all been purified as well. And in particular, that which really impedes our quick progress along the path, being ordinary view. We are purified of that, and we see all with a pure view.
Lama Shaya San Kudi Hinji Chicken, so the Lama Shaya San Kulu Jusu, Samsacha, 소소 신도 travel 샘데 니레 라마 샤야스가 투들 현지 지금 전에 소소 샘데 라마 샤야스가 투를 교수 섬서체 랑게 룽아 이소 라마 샤야스 구순도 뭐 예매 교수 섬서체 디 대화데 대외 동바 대도 뉴스메 이시 교수 섬서체 안 란야사가 네데야 안 여기 견 탐제 되는 라마 샤야스가 다음에 신도 교수 섬서체 라마 샤야스가 구수도 뭐 예매 교 나라라 신메바 섬서 디 투가래 왜서 빠르메바 심제 장는 왜서 초발을 때는 심제 대다 산자라 아니 라마 샤야스가 근데 레레 슈발을 때는 안 대다 산자자 아니 계지가 라마 샤야스 구수도 뭐 예매 교수 대다가 내사게 내 대다데 라마 샤야스가 다음에 신도 교수 섬서체 보다 심제 탐제게 되는 산제 고마 두긴 서다 니마 데린 투투 선을 가고 보다 배야고 줘서 안 심제 탐제 라마 샤야스게 구르주바 대다게 또 소소 겨와주바 두긴 소소 저거 유대는 뭐 또가 파다 zam을해서 대대화를 대도 니스에 시켜서 소어들 공부하자.
So then, through the combination of my own most subtle wind acting as the substantial cause, together with the body of the Buddha acting as the cooperative conditions, my own body is transformed into the enlightened body of the Buddha. And then through the combination of my own most subtle mind acting as the substantial cause, together with the mind of the Buddha acting as the cooperative conditions, my own mind is transformed into the enlightened mind of a Buddha. And I have this knowledge of now my body, speech, and mind being inseparable from the body, speech, and mind of an enlightened being. Again, this is something that's wonderful. I rejoice in this. I've attained this. And then through this understanding of the lack of any inherent existence of this place, this body, as well as the place that has been, my own place has been transformed from fault into that of the enlightened abode of an enlightened being, I can send out light rays from my own heart center equal in number to all the sentient beings in all the 6 realms of existence. And upon dissolving into these sentient beings, they are purified of all fault and quickly attain the state of enlightenment. Their place in which they are in as well is purified of all stain and becomes the pure realm of an enlightened being. And again, I have this sense of achievement of having led all sentient beings to this state of enlightenment, fulfilling that purpose. I realize that this leading of all sentient beings to the state of enlightenment, the virtue that has facilitated that, myself as the agent of that virtue, all lack any objective existence and are merely imputed by thought. From this contemplation arises the sense of bliss, which combines with voidness, and I abide in the wisdom of non-dual bliss and voidness.
어디로 공부하세요? 뭐다 간제 지금 단다들 몇 번 이제면도 오늘 된데래라고 딱 가봐요. 이내야 단다디 맞아 단다 삼로 단다는 시 땅와디게 어느 배 가소래 지금 가소래 다디 뉴버스로 되네. 어느 딱 간제 지금 단다 삼로 땅와는 시 문에 거라 되다 된데 용알라 소소 산제 고바 마담 타요 말이. 다 산제 고바 토발래 장주거서 돈이 또 배셔라 que lam nyamle majena tham yo mar ta tosa she tosa niba ju yo mar ta dagara lam dagara re ta di inde ta soso ge ta pela digi junga ina ta donghe junga yimba ina ta ani je na sa ta gande junga yimba ina ta kibu junga yimba ina ta ta ga ne dan gande chaba yimba ina ya ne dan di janju ge sem da toni to be sharap kebe ge ani twengera tuwach 년종계 자주가 셈계 돈이들을 싫어하게 튕기는 저도 봤지. 그 계계나 맞아 튕기는 저도 봤지. 제도 이나 아니 산재 고마서도 다른 거 차기 말 봐. 이 튕기는 저도 봤지 용해라. 아니 뭐지? 와다들 용해 줄을 주어서 와다서 뭐제잖아. 와다들 고마시.
And of course, we're acting at the level of imagination here. How could it be this simple to attain such lofty goals? But we are focusing on the way in which we're thinking here. You know, so we're thinking like this. We know we have this potential, and that you know, to attain that state of enlightenment, we know we need that mind of enlightenment. We need to combine that with emptiness, and there is no second way towards enlightenment. This is the path. And so it's up to us to be able to really see all happiness and all suffering, anything that is, fortunate or unfortunate for us, as simply a conducive condition for practice, and to be able to view that status, whatever it is for us, with those with that mind of enlightenment and the mind of emptiness, and to see it all as conducive conditions for us to be able to do that. And so if we are able to greet all that arises for us like that, with mind of enlightenment and wisdom, then the state of enlightenment no longer becomes something far away, really.
obstacle. 먼저 타바다 탐지 캠에 귤어 줘야로 obstacle 그래서 땅 obstacle 침부로 와. 다 디게가 타바다 탐지 캠에 유튜브에 통계를 줘와 이나 대화 중간에 동해 중간에 근데 중간에 이나 타바다 탐지 캠에 통계를 줘도 있어도나 obstacle 요 말해. 와다디 데네 데도 줘야겠다. 람차 되기도 와. 와다디 말아서 숙제야 되겠지 뭐라도 와. 리스트도 봐 있는 것을 obstacle 요 말해. 예. 디니는 용을 봐야는 대화 용을 해는 동해 용을 디니는 매도 세바지 용 말이야는 단념 용을 다 네가 가리 임바이네 통계를 배주 땅 도바는 것으로 obstacle 요 말해.
So we can see with this attitude that there are no such thing as obstacles, and that here, when we are able to view every situation as an opportunity to lay down the causes for liberation, the omniscience or the omniscient state to enlightenment, then whatever happens, whether it's suffering or happiness, we're greeting it in the same way, as a simple opportunity to be able to lay down such causes, greeting it with the mind of enlightenment and emptiness. And so we kind of can't, as we normally talk about, oh, I have such and such an obstacle to being able to dedicate myself fully. No, if we have this attitude, this right attitude, this twin motivation of the mind of enlightenment and emptiness to greet every situation, and then there's no situation that is not an opportunity, and therefore there can be no obstacles to our practice at all.
Obstacle rooms. 강바 미션바 제거 룸 소주 제거 열어 나랑도 obstacle 구급 제거 열어 obstacle 구급 마테는 obstacle 대서 여말에 no visa can't stay.
As Kenna says, if there's an obstacle, it's only because we have given that obstacle the power to be an obstacle. If we have the right attitude to be able to address so-called obstacles with, then they have no place to stay. They have no visa to be able to stay. You are Avalokiteshvara, a great treasure of compassion, not aimed at true existence, and Manjushri, master of flawless wisdom, as well as Vajrapani, destroyer of hordes of demons without exception, Tsongkhapa, crown jewel of the sages of the land of snows, Losang Drakpa, at your feet, I make requests.
Okay,